Hi guys, yet another one. The ZISIN Vermilion. What is the ZISIN Vermilion? Well, ZISIN, and I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, is a subsidiary of XINHS, a well-known cable manufacturer that came out maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I've got countless of their cables. XINHS then expanded or then created a sub-brand which was called IVipQ, which has had quite a few really nice IEMs, mind you. And then they also created another sub-brand which is called ZISIN. Each one of them there is some cross matching of cables and so on, but each one of them has kind of gone, let's say, its own little way in terms of what cables they have or what cables the other brands don't carry and whatever, different accessories. But overall, what can be said about the three brands is the cables are always the main point or main source of business. Always very good cables. They've got from budget cables all the way to more expensive cables, but every cable, the price to quality ratio is very high. And the reality is I've got a number of their cables and I really like their cables. I'm actually on the process of buying another two. So the Vermillion here is an IEM from ZISIN, a 1+2 hybrid priced at around $119. And it was obviously with enthusiasm that I wanted to experiment it, that I wanted to listen to it, that I wanted to see what it was capable of. And I could not have been more pleasantly surprised. It is a phenomenally good IEM. I know. You guys are going to say, oh, but Tony, you kind of sounding like a broken record. Everything today for you is a phenomenally good IEM. Everything is a phenomenally good IEM. And again, I'm going to say what I've just said earlier as well. The reality is they are really good. Simple. I mean, it's as simple as that. They really are very, very, very good. I'm not going to expand and make multiple comparisons. If you guys want, then I can do that. I've just brought out here what the XINHS Erasmus, which was an IM I collaborated with, and then later evolved into the HS03, which they still carry. This was about $129. The HS03 is around the same thing, $119 give or take. Sometimes it can be had on sale for $79. And I've got here the Explorer, the full Explorer on this side, which is also around that $100 to $109. Sometimes it comes down. So the common denominator here of all of these IMs is that they're all 1+2s and they're all priced at about the same value. The only one here that has the adjustable tuning switches are these two, the Erasmus and the HS03. Although there were some versions of the HS03 that I heard didn't come out without the switches, but I believe all of them actually have got now the switches and have always had the switches. What is the sound of the HS03 or of the Erasmus, which is I think the best to start positioning here, the Vermillion, so you guys can understand what this is all about. Well, they used a 1+2 configuration, 8mm driver, and then obviously 2 BAs handling the rest of the frequency spectrum. The 100 Hz point that I always like using corresponds to about 1.5 kilohertz, so let's say less than ideal, but when you then look at the actual overall levels of energy, it's very balanced, and the sound that you get from this is very neutral. It was a sound that I helped give my little intake on it, my input, and that's exactly what I wanted. Was a neutral sound that would be easy to listen to, non-offensive, no peaks, no nothing. It was, and I believe it has been very well received, not only in the Erasmus version, but also in the HS03, which was obviously sold in more quantity. I believe it's been well received. I heard a few cases of some unit variants, but nothing dramatic. It happens. But overall, the reception of the HS03 has been a very favorable one. It does, and it responds really well with the tip rolling. I've seen some nice differences happening. It's got this peak at around 8K that I never really picked up on it. It never really bothered me. I think it's more a couple related thing than anything that is really audible. But as I said, overall, I think the sound of the H03 is a very neutral, very balanced sound. no focus on any particular part of the spectrum. Really nice mids, very gentle bass. It's got enough weight. When you listen to it, you don't really feel that you're listening to an 8mm driver, in my opinion. Although it's been tuned so relaxed, it really, I think it really does convey that sensation of a very nice, solidly done bass, transitioning into the mids in a nice manner as well, with no aggressiveness, no peaks, no unnecessary male and female vocals. Timbre and tonality is phenomenal, and then nice extension up to the top, with no amount of sibilance or unpolished nature coming up. Good extension past 10K, really nice soundstage, detailed retrieval, everything is very nice. Although, keeping in mind, as I just said, the sound is always very neutralish. So if you're wanting something a little bit more detailed, perhaps this would not be the ideal. There are other 1+2s which will be more detailed. I think the idea here, and I was able to get that through, was I didn't want the BAs to be present. I wanted the BAs to just blend in and sound like they were part of the whole equation as one single driver. Okay, a full Explorer, not much needs to be said about it. It's probably one of the most solid 1+2 IEMs out there. It has a bass curve which is very similar to the HS03, but it's a bigger driver, so there's more weight to the note, and then the way that the mids, upper mids and treble has been done, I would say as smooth and as neutral as can be. Some people did mention that it needed a little bit more detail, a little bit more energy. I would say it's tip roll. With the stock tips, it's one thing. With these tips here from Panon, it's a totally different beast. It's not that it now all of a sudden miraculously starts having details from here to the moon or back, but there is a little bit more openness in the sound. There's a little bit extra detail, and I think it does help. The fact, especially the fact that it's a wide bore tip, it does contribute to that sensation of a little bit more detail up top. Again, it's all about smoothness and being unboring and being unfatiguing, and the Explorer has the reputation that it has, and it's a deserved reputation, period. It's as simple as that. Enter the Vermillion, and the Vermillion, I believe, has taken cues from both of these two previously mentioned IEMs, and given it its own little, again, take. It's got very much the same sort of bass as the Explorer, maybe just a smidge more little mid bass between 100 and 220 hertz, a little bit more presence there, but nothing that, again, I would say is phenomenally different, no. And then in terms of the way that the pinna gain is done, it goes very much along the way as well of the Explorer. It does the same sort of pinna gain, peaks at 2 kilohertz roughly. I mean, we're talking about a pinna gain of 4 dBs and a half. Okay, so very, very gentle. Between 4 and 5, there's a little bit of an extra little amount of energy there, but again, nothing that's offensive in any way or sort. Besides, with the bass energy that's coming from behind from the Vermillion, it's more than enough. And then it carries on kind of very much like the Explorer, and then at the end it emulates more the way that the HS03 is in the extension past 10K. I would say it follows more that road. When I show you the graphs, you'll understand what I'm saying. Ultimately, okay, so Tony, you're talking. What does it sound like? It sounds really good. It sounds very, very nice. It sounds like a significantly more expensive IEM. I would say, and I would go, although I compared it, I didn't put it here in this comparison, I would say that this sounds, or this tries to emulate the sound that you are getting on something like the Odyssey. It's that level of I don't want to sound like, I don't want to use a big word, but I think that's the attempt that they've tried here, is go that far, go that oh my God, sorry. As I was saying, my apologies. I don't want to sound like I'm exaggerating now in how I think the performance of the Vermillion is, but I find that there's a lot of similarities are in the sound between the Vermilion and the Odyssey. Yes, the Odyssey does have a little bit more bass. The bass is more of a tuck style as opposed to a gliding style of bass. But then the way that the mids have been done is very, very similar. And I would say that this is, confidently say this is kind of like an attempt at the Odyssey's tuning at a lower price. And I think that in itself is already enough to justify it being something that you should keep your eyes out, something that if you can get your hands on, test it, look at it, listen to it. I mean, the cable that it brings, as you can see, is nothing short of what to be expected. It's a cable, it's a nice cable. It's a beautiful resin shell, nice faceplate design. It looks the part, it looks the business, it's solidly built. I mean, there's really nothing there that you can, take away from it. That's as simple as that. It's better quality construction than the Erasmus, and the Erasmus was a nice construction, or the HS03 as well, with its resin shell, full transparent and so on. And it's on level with the construction of the Explorer, if not even, perhaps slightly nicer because of the faceplate that they've used. So what I can say is, yes, they've done their work here on the Vermilion. ZISIN did their work and made sure that what they launched was competent. Just returning back here quickly to the sounds. The bass is nice and like I said, it's a gliding style of bass. It's got a gain of around 8.5, 9 dBs. But the way it's done, it's very smooth. Yes, it is a slightly warmer tonality. Okay, slightly warmer tonality, but it's not a dark sounding IM by any means. Okay. And then the pin, again, like I mentioned, it's around 4.5 dBs, peaks at about 1.6, and then carries on across that, and then has a second peak at about 4. But you could almost, this is not meta, but you can almost say that they've done this to avoid any unnecessary or aggressiveness in terms of the female vocals being too forward and then not sounding nicely. And then it's got some really nice extension past that, no 8 kilohertz peak, no nothing, and then some good extension as well past 10K to convey a nice sense of soundstage and imaging and detailed retrieval and spaciousness. Once again, I think the biggest takeaway of the Vermilion is that it's a very musical IM. And again, I want to repeat this. I'm so happy that I see brands, yes, they want to I guess satisfy those that are the graph freaks, that the graph looks good and so on, because that's a synonym for the sound to them to be good. But they are focusing on the sound being top notch. And I mean, it doesn't take much for you to start listening to the Vermilion and being surprised. I mean, In a Sentimental Mood by Cecile Norby, it conveys the whole atmosphere of the song, the whole voice, everything just comes across incredibly well. You take You Were There For Me by Nick Cologne, or Touch Me by Brian Coverston. Incredible. You take another song that I've been listening to now quite often, and to get an idea of general soundstage capability and how the information, how the detailed retrieval is capable, how detailed retrieval capable is an IM, In the Hollow by Takedaka, or Japanese Root by Takedaka. I mean, seriously, guys, top notch. Or if I go to Emily Field Ames, whatever I threw at it from her was just, Dominic Field Ames just sounds incredible here. On the other hand, yes, if I did put some EDM, it was also capable. It was also doing a phenomenal job. So a really competent sounding all-rounder. That's all I can say. I mean, it's as simple as that. It's a really good 1+2 hybrid that is not priced out of this world. If this was a couple of years ago, look, I'll go as far as this. Okay, I actually took out the Yume, the C Audio Yume, and if you guys remember, the C Audio Yume went through various iterations and this and that. With the exception of the Yume 2, this is better than the C Audio Yume. That's it. You want me to be as sincere as possible, and I said I wasn't going to bring out a whole bunch of IMs so that I wouldn't make this review lengthy. This is better than a C Audio Yume in all of its iterations except for the Yume 2. And I think that is speaking worlds for how good I consider the Vermillion to be. All right. Anyway, guys, let me just quickly show you the graphs and I'll wrap it up. Alrighty, let's start here then with the graphs. So this is the HS03 that I talked about in the beginning of the review. So you can see nice gliding bass, no unnecessary peaks, just this peak here, which, you know, it is what it is. It just sounds smooth, relaxed, very neutralish, nothing, you know, over the top, nice, warm, organic type of sound, top notch. This is now the Explorer with the tip that I like using, which is that tip from Panon. Excuse me. And as you can see, similar sort of bass execution, but obviously 10mm driver will sound thicker. And then it's, you know, yes, okay, fine. So the point of corresponding is not the ideal, but the energy and the level that it has of gain is so little that it just sounds neutral, organic, very, very, very competently done, very nicely done. Okay. And enter now the ZISIN Vermilion. Same sort of bass, just a little bit smidge more mid bass there, as you can see. I mean, and then that extra little bit of our energy there, but very similar. And then the top end, okay, is done more along the lines of the HS03. So let me just quickly take here. So this top end here is done more along the lines of the HS03, while the rest is all very, very, very similar to the Explorer, and they sound very similar. I would say maybe the Vermillion here and there has just a little extra slam in the bass, maybe here and there. The Explorer gives a perception of a slightly more larger soundstage, but the overall performance of them is very, very similar. Comparing it here with the Odyssey, which I mentioned as well. Let me just take away here the Explorer. As you can see, the Odyssey and the Vermillion again have a lot of commonality. Yes, the Odyssey's got a little bit more detail up top, I'm not going to deny it, but the mids, the way the bass comes across, everything sounds very similar. So when I said that they actually are, the Vermillion is perhaps a little bit of a almost sibling of the Ziget, the Odyssey, I'm sure I'm not saying anything which is completely out of bounds or absurd. All right, guys, like and subscribe, and let's keep it going. Let's keep this going. Take care now. Bye-bye.